Well, if this right here represents all of Earth's water, so this bar right here, how much of it's salt water, how much of it's fresh water do you think then? Do you think this saltwater bar is mostly full or half full, half? Which one's more full? Just shout it out.
Salt water.
By a lot or a little?
97%.
97% you say? That's about up here. So all of this would be salt water, right? 97% is salt water. How much is fresh water then?
3%.
Just 3%. 3%. But we just saw how much of the fresh water is locked up in something. A lot or a little? Most of it, like 80 or 70 or 80% of it. So this much is stuck on the poles as ice. That leaves this little tiny square right here, this little itty bitty tiny bit. That's the water we can pull from the ground or use from the lakes for our drinking water, for fields and land and everything else. Here's how we're going to get this in our notes. Under lesson 1, where is Earth's water? We have lots of pie charts that flow into each other. I like this graphic. The biggest pie chart. This represents all the water. So take a wild guess. What is the biggest piece of the pie on the biggest pie chart, Andy?
Ocean.
Yeah, ocean water is 97.5. So oceans hold 97% of all water, and that water is very, very, very salty. Who's ever swam in the ocean? Have you noticed how easy it is to float? You have? Why? Why is it so easy? Yeah. The salt makes it so dense, it actually makes you float higher. Like your whole head is going to be above the water. What's going to be left? This last little 3% is fresh water. Yes. So this freshwater piece is only like 2.5%. Now the graphic here, most of this is salt water. We're going to leave it at that. The fresh water we're going to divide up. So we have another pie chart down below here. So the next pie chart. All right, so freshwater, this freshwater chunk goes down into this next pie chart. So this next piece of the pie, most of our fresh water is locked up. We can't get to it. Where is it locked up? Yes. The ice caps and glaciers take up almost 80% of the fresh water. Okay? But there's another piece of the pie we haven't talked about yet. Okay? Where is the most of the remaining water? I bet you know now. Yes?
Underground.
It is underground. So when you turn on a faucet at home, when you take a shower, you're taking a shower in groundwater. And that groundwater is really clean, it's really good, and we really need to talk about how we get more of it, what happens if we overuse it, stuff like that, and that's coming up later in this unit. Are we done talking about fresh water? No, there's one more piece of this pie, this little sliver. This little tiny sliver of the little tiny sliver is all of our surface water. So this whole bottom graph is Lake Superior, Lake Michigan. The whole Great Lakes and rivers and everything else is this 1% of our freshwater. Anyway, to catch up in the notes, freshwater, most of it's locked up in the ice caps, so almost 80% is locked in the ice caps. Groundwater makes up 20% of what remains. And surface water, then, is just 1%. Okay, so 1% is surface water, and that 1% gets blown up into this third pie chart. The third pie chart, half of it is water in lakes. Half of the surface water is in water in lakes. 38% of it is water in soil. So that's water that's not all the way down where the groundwater is, but it's just the dampness of soil. Mud, for example. And then there's water vapor in the atmosphere. water in rivers, just a tiny sliver, and another tiny sliver is water in living organisms. So the water inside of me is included right here. Now I included in your notes this interesting little picture. This is a picture from a satellite of Earth's water vapor. So all of the water in the atmosphere, this little sliver of that 1%, is included right here. And we can see some animated pictures like this. They are really cool to see it swirling and whirling. You can also see the global winds we just finished learning about in here too, the swirls. The last thing I have in your notes is this picture. This picture is really interesting. I love this one. The big sphere. What does it look like it's made of?
Water.
This is all of the ocean water. If you were to collect it, make it into a sphere, that's what it would be. Now that's sticking up into space. Don't think that that's small. Okay, it's covering most of the United States, but when you compare it to the size of the Earth, it kind of looks small, doesn't it? Yeah, if you imagine this like a dropping onto the Atlantic Ocean, it would have to cover all the Pacific, all the Atlantic, Arctic Ocean, Indian Ocean, all of it. So that's the ocean water. This dot, if you collected all of the ice from Antarctica and all of the ice from the Arctic, put it in one sphere, that's how big that sphere would be. Is that bigger or smaller than you expected? Way smaller than I expected. There's another dot here. On your notes, it looks like a speck. But this little tiny dot here, that's all of the lakes and all of the rivers right there. Now, that's a big dot. We're looking from space here. So it's huge. That's hundreds, maybe a couple 100 miles wide dot. But that little dot covers Lake Superior, all the Great Lakes. That little dot covers the land of 10,000 lakes up north. That little dot covers all lakes in Europe, South America, all the Amazon, the Mississippi, is that little tiny dot. Wow, indeed.